Aribert Reimann really has the orchestra divided in groups. It's all the woodwinds, a very big woodwinds, but they're a group, all the brass together, all the strings together, the percussion together, and they very often, in a very pointillistic, spatial way, are involved in the music, and the effect of which is quite shocking, because when they do come in, it's a new color that we've not heard a lot of. So he uses each group rather sparingly in a way to heighten the dramatic effect that they're not always playing.
Die Musik ist sehr verbunden mit dem, was in den Personen vorgeht. Wir sehen das nicht, aber wir hören es. Und es gibt eine Stelle, wo Medea zum ersten Mal dann mit Creusa zusammentrifft, mit ihren beiden Kindern. Und Creusa sich nun als Frau von Jason sieht und sagt zu den Kindern, kommt her, ihr heimatlosen Weisen, mit AI. Das ist ein Moment, der etwas bei Medea als Mutter nun was Furchtbares auslöst. Und es geht in ihrem Kopf etwas rum, wir hören das. Wir sehen es nicht, aber wir hören im Orchester das, was sich in ihrem Kopf abspielt. Und da habe ich bereits schon den späteren Mord, das Feuer in dem Palast, der nun durch dieses Kleid für Creusa, dieses Feuer entstanden ist, habe ich da schon vorausgesehen, also hörbar gemacht. Nachher, wenn das kommt, weiß man, irgendwann habe ich das doch heute Abend schon mal gehört. Das sind also Dinge, wo ich immer versucht habe, den momentanen psychischen Zustand, der in den Personen musikalisch umzusetzen.
What all the singers sing is a complete virtuosic tour de force. The demands, vocal demands for the singers, I would say particularly Medea, but everyone really is extraordinary in its scope and difficulty. The same for the orchestra. What they have to play is extremely complex rhythmically, and it's interesting that all the instrumentalists, including all the strings, have their own solo parts, and they very often play maybe with the same rhythm, but in harmonic clusters. So every instrumentalist is a soloist and has to really lead their part. They can't follow anyone. And the same thing with the singers. So from a technical point of view, it's a big challenge to try to bring the exact and preciseness of what Aribert Reimann has composed. The other challenge is to constantly be aware of that everything they play is connected to the drama. And I think that's the greatness of this work, is the constant tension between what is happening on stage and what is being played or sung. And there's not a moment actually where you have a sense that the drama is in the background, but the drama is always in the forefront.
I think from the beginning of the opera you hear the seeds of violence in Medea. From the beginning she's already in a way on the run. She's already lost the stability of her identity from the beginning. Over the course of the opera there's a tremendous amount of emotional, psychological and political violence put on her until she has nowhere else to turn. She can't leave, she can't stay, she's lost her children, she's lost her husband, so the opera functions as a kind of female nightmare. She experiences the loss of her family, the loss of home, and watches her husband fall in love with another woman, watches her husband betray her, and watches her children choose another woman over her. So she loses everything. And this shatters her identity, but I think it also puts her in a state of incredible powerlessness. And from this powerlessness comes violence, comes the desire for revenge, but comes the desire to also shatter the world around her.
Das ist fast brutal, wie Medea in diesem Stück behandelt wird von den anderen. Und das gab mir natürlich auch sehr viel musikalische Aspekte. Ihre ganze Umgebung, Kreon, Jason, Creusa und geraten immer in Vibrationszustände, wenn Medea auftaucht. Jeder hat Angst vor ihr, jeder ist unsicher. Und wiederum bei Medea ist es auch genau das Gleiche, dass in ihr dauernd etwas vorgeht. Wie gehe ich jetzt mit diesen Menschen um? Und das hat dann auch seinen Ausschlag bei mir gefunden, eben in der Behandlung der Singstimme. Also dass immer eine gewisse Vibration in den Phrasen ist. Also nicht Wort auf Silbe und so weiter, Silbe auf Ton, das hasse ich, das finde ich ganz schrecklich. Sondern ich konnte die Silben aufbrechen in lauter kleine Melismen. Und das war für mich eben dann doch sehr interessant, so auf diese Weise mit den Figuren umzugehen, wobei natürlich jede Figur, und darauf lege ich ja immer sehr viel Wert bei meinen Opern, es sich sehr abgrenzt in der Art zu singen und in der Singstruktur, dass jeder seine eigene hat. Und dadurch entsteht ja erst eine Spannung auf der Bühne, nicht in dem gesungenen Wort, sondern wie das Wort gesungen wird. Das ist eben erstmal Oper und das ist dann Musiktheater.
You don't have arias as such, but you have an actual dramatic language, which is, together with the orchestra, a very tight, knitted, rather nervous dramatic dramaturgy. What's interesting in the orchestra is the orchestra plays in groups, and sometimes these groups interact, but very often they act as commentary on what's happening on the stage. And what's fascinating about it is that a singer will sing a line, sometimes a very disjointed, and the orchestra will immediately react. There's a constant sense of chamber-like drama going on between the orchestra and the singers, where it becomes actually one dramatic idea, which is very unusual because often you have an orchestra that is in some kind of accompaniment a role. Here's not the case. The orchestra has an extremely active role in the plot. They have an active role in the drama at all moments. And this give and take, question answer, phrase against phrase, drama is really there throughout the whole piece.
We invented a landscape on the stage that in a way can be a kind of wasteland, can be a kind of borderless place, a place of waiting. But for me, it's also a landscape for Medea. So it contains within the skeletal house downstage, the idea of a kind of shelter, the idea of a kind of home. There's the remnants of a wall that suggest a kind of place. But actually, Johannes and I were searching for a way to tap into something essential in Aribert Reimanns' music, which is a roughness and a directness and an immediacy. And I was interested how that would provoke in the singers a kind of something very primitive, emotional, physical, and direct.
Like many great composers, it begins with the text. And I think that what he achieves here, through the declamation of this story, that the musical language is constantly supporting that declamation. So it's really the text and the story which is always in the forefront.
Bevor ich das Libretto ausgeschrieben habe, hatte ich dann auch in mir schon so viel Musik gehört, dass ich gar nicht mehr davon weggehen konnte. Und das ist dann immer der Punkt, wo man weiß, ich muss es machen oder ich kann es gar nicht mehr aufgeben.
There is a journey that goes on. Creusa is known to be a singer, and you hear that she's always singing. She enters the piece singing, this kind of beautiful melisma, and you see a lot of her character reflected. There's a moment where Medea and Creusa are together, where Creusa is helping Medea to learn how to sing in order to please Jason and to assimilate into. So you hear the violas playing a kind of a interesting nervous pizzicato to imitate a lira, kind of an ancient harp, things like that. So the music does very often reflect also in leitmotifs, different things. When the notion of the death of Pelias, then very often the trumpets play this kind of bizarre, regal, nervous fanfare, which gives us the idea of something regal that has been completely destroyed, for example. So there's many different instruments in the orchestra that reflect at certain points a certain drama. But in the end, it's the whole orchestra as such that is taking place on equal terms.
Meine Musik geht ja auch immer wieder weg von dem Stoff, nicht? Und ich bleibe ja nicht pausenlos nun an den Texten, im Gegenteil. Die Musik entwickelt sich und ich setze dann nachträglich den Text hinein. Wenn ich ganz genau weiß, wie der Weg des Orchesters ist, wie der musikalische Weg ist, wie die Struktur ist, wie die Form ist und wie die Entwicklung ist. Und dann besinne ich mich wieder auf den Text, der dann mit den Stimmen zusammen hineingesetzt wird.
The myth of Medea is still incredibly useful for us in two vital ways. One, it's a document about Europe's encounter with its other. And via that, the myth dramatizes the experience of being an outsider culturally and politically in a society, being someone who doesn't have a place. And there is kind of no more urgent or more pressing theme in our society than the idea of belonging to a state, belonging to a culture, and finding a place in the world. So for me, that here coming very deeply and subjectively into Medea's crisis is a way of sounding out and experiencing the contemporary European crisis of borders and how to accept people who through violence have lost their place in the world and are looking for a new home in the world.
Und das ist ein Problem, was mich natürlich uns alle heute beschäftigt, das Problem der Immigration. Zu uns kommen viele Leute jeden Tag und haben es schwer, werden nicht akzeptiert. Der zweite Aspekt bei Grillparzer war eben, dass sie am Schluss das goldene Vlies, das gestohlene Gut, wieder zurückbringt in den Tempel nach Delphi, wo es gestohlen wurde. Und unsere Welt ist immer noch voll von Objekten und von Kunstwerken, die von den Nazis gestohlen wurden oder was auch immer, und die noch lange nicht wieder da sind, wo sie eigentlich zuvor gewesen sind. Und diese beiden Dinge haben mich dann doch an dieser Oper sehr interessiert.
It is perhaps a mirror of today's society. I find the story couldn't be more aktuell to what is happening in the world today. I'm an American also, and I see what's happening in American politics. The fear of strangers, the fact that what we don't know about a person's past is what makes us afraid of them. That people think that Medea is in fact an evil person, when in fact she's just trying to live a normal life as much as possible. And in fact her powers are such that she goes completely mad in the end. And of course the tragic end by killing her children, killing other people, in this story is a true tragedy, but of someone who has tried to find their place in society and who simply cannot.